Welcome to another episode of Paint, Sip, and Relationships. I am your host, Rain Congrejo, and with me is my co host and my cameraman, Mr. Bryson Capellini. So, how are you, Bryson? How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm doing good. Glad to be here as always and have you as
Uh-huh.
the host.
so, I know we've been talking quite a bit about SL relationships.
Right. Right.
And, you have the good, you have the bad, and you have the terribly ugly.
Hmm.
We've gone from romantic relationships to people posting their feelings on social media, whether they're in a new relationship or let's just say a relationship ends,
Hmm.
right? And when it ends, it can be that's the ugly I'm talking about.
Right.
So I want to get your take on how do you move on? It's easy for people to fall in love and be in awe of each other, but I think, relationship goes through stages and either you're going to grow together or you're going to grow apart. Now, if you decide that you're growing apart, how do you move on from that? What are the steps to ending that in a good way, still maintaining and not being upset with each other and wishing each other success in whoever they're with because together you didn't make it or that relationship had reached its maximum potential, but then not to get into these heated discussions of I don't like you, I have nothing to say to you, and things like that. So how do you move on, whether it's amicable or whether it's not?
So it's I mean, I'm gonna keep it real. In the beginning, it's gonna be that way unless y'all just have a agreed that this is the way we need to move forward. So if it's both parties saying, yeah, we done ran our course, this is pretty much it. That's one thing. But initially there's going to be that, I really can't stand your ass and, I'm done. So, I'm picking my shit up and leave, or you getting your shit and leave. I'm just keeping it real. I mean, like honestly, but the main thing, how do you get over it, is you start working on yourself, right? So somewhere in that relationship, there's a point when you start putting that person first, which is, okay. And maybe that might start with little decisions you make and, oh, we're going to go to this club or we're going to do this or we're going to do that. And you may have your own thoughts and opinions of what you want to do, but your partner has a whole different way of wanting to do it. And so you go along with it, right? You agree with it. But at some point, you can't lose yourself. That's where I feel. If you lose yourself in the whole thing and now the relationship is over, you need to do some repair, some self repair for you, right? Because that's going to be important because you don't want to carry that baggage into the next relationship that you may have. And that brings up another topic because people always say, well, you move too fast or, you should have did this. Who the hell determines how long? Like, I'm just keeping it real. Is there a book out there? I mean, that says, okay, must sit alone for 30 days and then you can just resurface and like a phoenix and shit. No, I mean, it depends on the situation, right? And at the end of the day, you know, all these abbeys out here ain't 17, 18 years old like they may be looking. So you've been through enough RL, you've been through enough SL, so why would you let that determine your SL, like as far as what you're gonna put up with and what you're not? You know what I'm saying? It's like at some point, put yourself first. Start thinking about you. Start repairing yourself. Maybe it was things you did in that relationship that you realize, hey, that wasn't the best thing, or it wasn't best for me. You know what I'm saying? That's what I
So
think.
here's something for you. This is probably going to throw you for a loop. So how do you know it's the right person? How do you find that right person? Because sometimes you think it's the right person. You're in that relationship and you're already in it, you've already invested in it, and you're like, well, I'm just going to stay in it because I'm comfortable. And most people make that mistake of staying in it because they're comfortable and not moving on because it's just not working. You're like oil and water. So how do you go about finding that right one?
I think it's just like That's a great question. I mean, I don't think that there isn't nothing but time that can really determine that that's the right one. And you got to allow yourself that time. I mean, in the beginning, it's the honeymoon phase. Oh, she called me this morning. Oh, yeah. And then 6, 7 months down the line, it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like you, the little things is so precious, right? But the thing is, those little things, if they're not consistently done over time, you start to see the real person. So I always, someone told me long ago, in the beginning, it's the person's representative, right? You put your best foot forward.
Mm-hmm.
You're not really showing who you are because you're trying to be on your, P's and Q's, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as time goes on, now y'all can laugh. Now y'all can, just do certain things around each other. You become more and more relaxed. Well, now guess what? The more the real you starts to come out more. And those are good and bad things that, we all have. But you start feeling more that you can release those things. Now you start to see who the person really is. But what's the common denominator there is time, because time is going to allow that to happen. Now, the thing is, do you start ignoring all the red flags in the beginning? Yeah, because everything seems so new and oh, she's so this and he's so that, right? But as time goes on, those red flags become more and more brighter and you start paying attention and then you start realizing if this is really what you want to be in or not, you know. That's what about you? What are your thoughts on that though?
Forget relationships. No.
Wow. Okay. All
um,
right. And back to you, Bob, at the studio.
well, it is. Um, for me, yeah. So you do have red flags, and I think both of us have been in different relationships where there were red flags, and we made the decision to try and stay. Um, but as I see it, and I don't think people understand this enough, is who you're with is really a reflection of you.
Hmm.
And what I mean by that is everything, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, that person you have manifested is just like you. So when you start picking that person apart of who you're with, you're picking yourself apart because you can be at your lowest, you can have no self-esteem. Well, guess what you pick? You pick the you pick the person that's on your same pity party,
Yeah.
and you tend to stay together. It's not really until you decide that you are going to heal yourself from a relationship or from some trauma that you may have going on in life. It's not until you come to terms with that that you're able to kind of reinvent yourself, because we always can reinvent ourselves. But it's not until you really understand who you are. And what I mean by that is you really can't get into a relationship until you understand what your boundaries are, until you understand who you are, what you like, what you dislike. If if I'm expecting you to treat me a certain way, I should have already treated myself that way. All right? But
Right.
what happens is because we look at the bad, we've been in toxic relationships and we let those carry on into the next one. And so we actually bring that, and therefore we actually pretty much different face, same person.
Right.
So
Right.
if you are never really stepping back and taking some time out of that relationship, or just getting out of a relationship, and you're right, there is no time limit to say when you can or when you can't get into another relationship. But I think what the determining factor is where your headspace is. Where is your mindset? Because if you're literally doing the same exact thing and repeating the same exact thing, and here's the caveat, sometimes we don't even know it.
True.
And the people around us want to bring it to our attention, but is that really going to help? Sometimes you need to sit back and think, why am I with this man, this woman, and then I leave them, and then I go to the next, and I go to the next. There's an issue within you, not within them, because they're just a reflection of what you asked for. So you can't really pinpoint the other person, you know. And I always tell people this: look at all of the people that you've dealt with. What is the common denominator? The common denominator is you. So you have to be the one to actually take that on and saying, let me fix myself. You know, people laugh at me because I'll go to a movie by myself. I've gone to several concerts by myself. But that was because I needed to get to know me in order to move on and be better for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And to also know what I'm willing to accept and what I'm not. Because as a woman, I am a prize. I understand that. I know what I want. I know what I need, and I'm not going to settle. But for most people that are still in that phase of not realizing there's something broke within themselves, then
Mm-hmm.
they continue to do the same thing over and over again. And one of the things I've heard um, over the years, and I heard one of my mentors say it, the best way not to get over somebody is to get under them. Never get under them to get over somebody else, because all that's going to do is put you in the same situation.
Mm.
So, my take on it is wish that person adieu, let them go, let them live their life, and be happy for them, because you don't want that negativity coming back on yourself.
True.
And what happens is when you really start working on yourself and when you really start living in your truth and understanding who you are, what you were put on this earth for, what your purpose is. And that's a whole nother conversation we can have. But living in your purpose, literally, it's not about finding a mate. It's really about finding a purpose partner, somebody that can actually help you grow and help you achieve the goals that you want to achieve. And I think
Right.
so many people miss that. And when you're having sex with all of these people, guess what? Those are soul ties. Those soul ties are very hard to break, you know. And so you've gone from one to one to one to one to one, and you've kind of just your mindset is all over the place. And so it's really kind of bringing that home, sitting down, getting focused on you, taking some time out. I mean, I took a whole year. I didn't date for a year, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when I felt, even people approaching me, I'd be like, okay, let me try and go out. And then I'd be like, yeah, no. I mean, I could literally get sick to my stomach because I was like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. But then there came a time with the right person that approached me, and how they approached me made me open up to say, okay, why not?
Right.
But
Okay.
the other thing is you got to be open to it as well. Because if you're not open to it, it's not going to happen. So that's my take.
Well, it's just funny how on SL, even though what you were saying is based really in real life, it also is in SL too. Because you can, if you take some of those same approaches to things, it could actually give you a better turnout. Um, when it comes to even relationships here on the grid, So definitely good points there that you brought up.
Yeah, I look at it as there is no difference. I am the same person here as I am in my real life. So, whatever issues or problems you have in real life, they're going to surface here.
So let's just piggyback on that real quickly because I know we cut for time, but just going to that point, you have those that use, because again, this is SL. You can be whatever you want to be. You can be whoever you want to be. So
Hmm.
some people use this as a way to kind of be a different person or personality or character than they
Hmm.
are in their real life, right? The funny thing about it is they can only do that for so long
Hmm.
because once again, the truth is going to rear its head and you're going to see the real person, right? Whereas they could be the biggest, boldest, baddest person, behind that screen. But once they become vulnerable and open themselves up, now you're digging deeper into the real person that's behind that screen. So it's just, it's great when a person can be who they really are. It's great when you can be with someone that's going to be upfront and say, this is it. This is what it is. You guys have a foundation. You have a plan. This is what you're going to do. It's different when there's secrets. It's different when stuff is hidden
Hmm.
and not true, Or let's face it, Everybody has skeletons in their closet, but at the same time, when you form a relationship, RL or SL, your past should be lessons that you learn so you don't repeat them again. Real
Mhm.
talk, right? So the way I see it is like, yes, okay, this is experiences I've dealt with in the past. I don't want to repeat those again. So I'm gonna be looking and with my partner, letting them know this is my expectations. This is where I would like this to go. If it can go that way, really sit down and plot that out and plan that out. You know, the thing is, everything is so instant. Like, I want popcorn, just throw it in the microwave. 2 minutes is done, whatever. It's not. And people want relationships that's instant like that too. You
Mhm.
know, you look good. Dang, we was at QoS. Okay, we together now because we danced one time. The hell? You know what I'm saying? But that's how it be. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I totally get it. I just, I'm glad that we was able to even have this conversation and look forward to, doing more of these kind of talks, on paint sipping relationships. Definitely.
Well, I will just have to say, to those, please, if you want to know more about our conversation and us to have this conversation again, because I'm pretty sure, Bryson, if you would agree, we could actually go on and on and on about this because I do have more to say coming from, being a coach in real life. So, being a life coach and really kind of handling relationships and really helping people in that manner. But if you really want to know people, let us know and we'll continue this conversation again. I would like to continue this conversation again, just on a different level. But
Okay.
I do want to thank my co-host Bryson Capolini, and thank you for this episode of Paint Sip and Relationship.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do a part two. So definitely
Yes,
sounds good.
look
We should
forward
do
to
that.
it.
All right.
Yes.